Hello everyone and welcome back. It's your buddy Isaac. I hope you guys enjoyed yesterday's stream. I'm sorry if I'm not super chatty when I game. Like, I'm usually concentrating on stuff. Plus, it's kind of the thing, like, I don't really know what to talk about. Like, I don't really consider myself to be super interesting, that kind of deal. A lot of my self-confidence, the problems, I'll be honest, comes a little bit from the past when you're talking about being a JW or former ex-JW. Yeah, it's a little ugly. I know a lot of people are like, why does that matter? It's like, believe me, when you've been through something like the Jehovah's Witnesses, it definitely has a pretty rough effect on you. So if I don't come off like super cocky and all this, like, yeah, that's why. So let's have some fun. We're racing in the Japanese GTR Skyline. Honestly, one of the best sports cars ever built. The Nissan GTR, so. A wee bit of a kaiju, but hey. That reminds me, there's a new season of the Crew Motorfest we could be playing too. I'm doing okay overall. Like, I know that a lot of people are like, why doesn't he say he's doing awesome? And I was like, I mean, by awesome you mean anxiety filled, worried about the future a lot of times, that kind of stuff. So it's just what it is, I think one of my biggest problems is, like, I'm always worried, especially because I rent my place where I live. I rent my apartment, and it's like, it's just getting more and more expensive. It really is. And the bigger problem is, like, I actually talked to a buddy of mine who went to college and stuff, and was like, you kind of got screwed from the start, didn't you? And I'm like, yeah, pretty much. Like, in my case, my mom originally took me out of the public school system because they didn't know what to do with me. They just wanted to drug me up because they couldn't figure out how to get me to do the schoolwork or control me, pretty much. So she took me home, tried to homeschool me, but that meant that I couldn't get a regular college or a regular high school diploma. Tried to get a GED. Let me tell you something about the GED. We give people who get GEDs a lot of crap, but it's actually a lot harder to get the GED than it is to get a high school diploma. It's a lot more difficult because with the GED, you actually have to get almost like 80-90% on all of the topics. All of them. And if you don't, you automatically fail. Now, here's the problem. For a high school diploma, you can literally practically flunk out of school with like C minuses. Okay? So the fact that we treat GEDs like they're worse off than high school diplomas is a problem. Now, I do technically have a high school diploma, right? So here's the thing. I got my high school diploma in 2010, 2011. Now, here's where things get really ugly. See, I got my high school diploma from what is registered as a private school in Florida, but because the way that the school does their thing to give you a diploma, basically they give you a short course on the topic, and then they give you a test on the topic, and then if you pass all of the topics, you get a diploma. Well, guess what? Apparently in the United States, that's not gonna fly. Apparently the only quote-unquote diploma that you can get with a test is a GED. So, while I technically have a diploma, it's not accredited, so I can't go to college. Fun. I have no vehicle, so I can't go anywhere to take the GED test or try to go and pass that again. And I'm kind of at the point of like, do I really want to? Which is a pain in the butt. But even if I did get a GED, even if I tried to go get a college degree, there's no guarantee that that would actually bring anything other than more debt. Because what happens in the US, and this is kind of something that I kind of refer to, is that basically the way our economic system works is there's nothing really wrong with the system. Like, there's nothing particularly wrong with capitalism in terms of how it's actually supposed to function. Because the way that capitalism's actually supposed to function is you gain a skill, you're able to then take that skill to a place that needs it, market it, make money that way, and then move on with the rest of your life. But here's the quirk. We don't teach people that. We teach people to go get a good education so you can work for somebody else and hope that you can work from the bottom up to be a CEO. It doesn't work that way. Because when you're working for someone else, one of the biggest issues is going to be that in order for you to move up the ladder, the person above you has to leave. But the way our society and our system works, that's not really going to happen, because people are two things. They're too afraid to lose anything that they have, but they're too greedy I should say they're not too greedy, but they're always greedy for something new. They always want more. So they're willing to do everything they can to get more. So because they're too afraid to lose everything, lose what they have, they're never going to leave any kind of position of power or any position that they can get a hold of. And you can kind of understand that, you know, everybody wants to be able to feed their family, take care of their family. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's also why our system is supposed to be designed and supposed to be done in such a way that you can learn the ropes, figure out what you're supposed to do, understand the industry that you're trying to get into, and then start your own stuff and be able to move up from there. Basically, essentially the idea being that by performing well and starting your own business, that you can actually move up in the world. Unfortunately, it's not that easy, because, and this is something that I always have to try and explain to people, is like, when people talk about different things, for example, people are talking about, oh, well, you can't start a business because all the greedy corporations will try and smush you, and they're like, no, and some people are like, no, that doesn't work, and I'm like, no, that's exactly what they do. Like, that's literally a lot of the regulations. What's funny is a lot of the regulations they want to complain to you about and say, oh, we can't do this because of all the regulations. Like, who do you think paid to put those regulations in place? Like, all those regs, all those rules, all that stuff, it's all paid for by the corporations themselves. They're the ones putting the money in the pockets of the politicians because they don't want to lose their positions of power. They don't want you and I making a ton of competition that they can't compete with. I mean, hell, you've got the comic book industry basically trying to beg the governments in some cases to ban the manga industry because manga is just outselling them. and doing way better than they are because they're producing good content that people want to see. What's more hilarious is they're producing good content that has a lot of the same diversity stuff that the comics technically have, where you have female protagonists, you have, you know, all kinds of stuff, but it's presented a lot better, so people are more willing to buy it and read it and have fun with it, as opposed to whatever the heck modern comics are throwing at us. They're making stuff that the customer wants to read while also still being able to put in stuff that's, you know, a commentary on social systems. You know? And I find it funny that people are like, oh, you're just saying that part of what I just said, and they'll be like, oh, you're just saying that because you want your student loans paid for. I'm like, no, not really. I don't think that we should forgive the student loans because, oh, well,
3 remaining.
They should have to pay it. I actually think that the student loans should be reimbursed by the colleges. Because funny thing is, like, let me put it this way. Colleges and various banks and all these other systems have spent enormous amounts of money to convince society, and by extension, convince possible students to borrow incredible large amounts of money with the promise that after they get the diploma that they'll have careers, that they'll have viable careers. Even, and I'm not just talking about the liberal arts crowd, okay? You can have degrees in the STEM field and still be settled with a ton of college debt and have nowhere to go. There are people with engineering degrees in the United States that are still working at McDonald's because it's the only job available. We have so heavily marketed college as this great big amusement park of, oh, success, that it really hasn't actually been. And any other time that you would have a system which is set in place to, quite frankly, scam people into borrowing a ton of money that they cannot pay back, which a lot of these college loans, a number of them, are actually set up to where if you even make the minimum payments, you can't even cover the interest with that. Under most any other forms of loans, that would be considered, well, 1, false advertisement. 2, I believe would be a whole number of different varieties of loan fraud, which under any other normal circumstance, the bank, if it was caught doing that, would have to not only cancel the debt, but reimburse you the money from your payments. Or, in the very least, have to renegotiate the terms of the loan. But we will definitely never see that, because that would mean that society would have to make a very big admission that they basically participated in a national-wide scam that affected the lives and productivity of literally millions of college students, both current and in the past. Oops. And it's funny thing is, like, this actually hasn't been the first time either that society has been actually influenced by an advertising campaign. For example, the whole diamond ring thing for your fiancé comes from an ad campaign. See, one company, the De Beers Mining Company, actually owns all the diamond mines in the world. So they have full control and a monopoly over all diamonds, all mining of it, all processing, all that good stuff. Which is why they can artificially set the price of diamonds. It's why you have to pay several thousands of dollars worth to buy a diamond ring, but if you try to sell the ring, it's only worth the weight of the gold, because the people you're basically trying to sell the diamond back to has a crap load of them. It is really not that rare. Especially considering we can make artificial ones, we can do all kinds of stuff. Not good. But yeah, that whole, you know, spending 2 months of your 2 to 3 months of your salaried wages is literally from an ad campaign. In fact, a lot of our modern society of how we think of being a family is honestly from ad campaigns from the 50s and 60s. The idea that dad goes and works while mom sits at home and does house chores is cute, but that's not how people lived about a couple hundred years ago. Because a couple hundred years ago, everyone had to work. Everyone had to do everything. Because it was a matter of survival. I mean, heck, a couple hundred years ago, things were so bad that you literally wouldn't even name your kid until like 2 or 3 years later. Because infant and child mortality was just freakishly high. Put that on. There we go. Some bit of upgrades there. The way I put it is essentially everyone, like our economy is a game of Monopoly, but everybody's getting handed the instructions and pieces for Parcheesi. So naturally we're all pissed.
Focus on finding a car to draft behind to increase your acceleration.
To be fair, the whole idea of just getting an education and working for someone else could actually be kind of harkened back to like the aristocratic era. Back in the day when we had aristocrats that owned everything and ran everything. And a lot of things that people get wrong about the aristocrats is the aristocrats weren't just rich people. These people were, for a very long time, literally the government of the world. The reason why they owned everything was literally because they were the government. These noble families, these noble houses, all this stuff, they owned everything. Literally because they were the ones in charge. Like, let me put it this way. When you're talking about aristocrats, like you're talking about people that, depending on how high they were in the aristocracy, they could own anywhere from an entire city to massive counties of land, housing multiple cities, villages, and literally tons of people. Matter of fact, if you watch an old Sherlock Holmes film, The Hound of Baskerville, they actually talk a little bit about that, because that's literally what it is they bring the heir to the Baskerville estate from Canada, because they're like, hey, we need somebody sitting in the Baskerville estate, because if we don't, this will go to the government and they'll sell it to a private corporation, which is just going to bring mechanized farming and boot all these people out of their homes. Because quite literally, the Baskerville estate ruled over literally the massive swamp and city and everything in it. So literally they needed someone to be the Lord of Baskerville, or everybody living there was going to be homeless. That's the kind of level of holy crap that the aristocracy pretty much brought in. It's actually what made America so interesting and unique, was the idea of private property ownership, that the average citizen, provided they had the money or they were able to go out and had the bravery at first to go stake a claim, could own their own property with government protection, so as to ensure that literally not the government technically couldn't just take the property from you. Whereas with the aristocracy, considering that the aristocrats pretty much considered themselves to, well, own everything you had was considered their property. Some fun history lessons for you. One of the main ouchies about the aristocracy, though, is the problem with that kind of pseudo-feudal system is there's no telling as to, you know, what you're getting, because when the old lord dies and the next guy takes over, there's no telling what you're gonna get. And this is coming from someone, by the way, whose family were the Dukes of Suffolk. So, yeah! Who would have thought? Well, hi. Hello, furry. Now, we have cat intervention. Come here, kitty. Meow. There you go. Sit on my shoulder. Hello, boy. Meow. We have cat, everyone. Cat is cute. Cat is adorable. Hello, Moon Pie. Yes. Hello. 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 Yes, hello. Aw, little kitty being cute. Hello, buddy. Hello, Moon Pie. Aw, you're being extra loving today. Hello. Yeah, I love you too, baby. Meow. Difficulty. Kitty cat. Meow. So hard to race cars when you have a cat that's smushing his face against yours. Hello, baby. Hello. We got a good little fur baby. Mwah. Yes. Meow. Meow. You done? No. It's the fur baby. Meow. Meow. A buddy of mine was actually asking, like, you know, where did the term fur baby come from? Honestly, I have no idea. Aw, hello, buddy. You're being so cute. Yeah. Yeah, hello. Hello. Love, 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 love. Love, 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 love. I know. Love, 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 love. Love, 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 love. Love, love, love. Nice. Let's do this. I actually admit, like, this is one of my favorite tracks to get to race on. It's a very beautiful track. Whoa, hello. Ow. Let's do this.
Total time penalty is about half a second.
There we go. Yeah. By the way, that's actually coming back to that topic, but interesting enough. It's kind of funny when people think of Robin Hood, they're like, oh, he stole from the rich. It's like, no, Robin Hood technically stole from the government. Less stealing from, like, Elon Musk, more like he was stealing from the IRS. This is literally what he was doing. He was stealing from the nobility and the king. So, yeah, quite literally, stealing from the government. Shh, don't tell anyone that he was actually robbing tax money. It's actually funny too. That's actually a cool little thing that's kind of interesting about like ancient temples and stuff, because people would give them stuff not simply because of religious reasons, but a lot of the tithes from the temple was also people's rent, because people lived around temples, especially in ancient Egypt. But that also meant that the priests weren't just standing around and, you know, making prayers and stuff. They would also have a habit of, hey, Your Holiness, there's a hole in my roof. Very well, I'll go grab brother such and such and we'll go patch the hole. Because they actually used to do that. They would actually, you know, fix stuff. Or pay someone to fix it. When your priest and the landlord are the same person. By the way, if you ever wondered what happened to like some of the food, a lot of the food offerings, depending on culture to culture, for example, with ancient Egyptians, the priests used to actually have communal meals that they would eat the food offerings in those communal meals. wasn't even something to do with ritual. It was just something of like, okay, let's eat this food before it, rots and makes everything stink. Either that, or they would put it on like boats and float it down the river. Although, to be fair, that more or less depended on the era and the time period. That's actually one of the cooler things about ancient religions and stuff like that, is they don't really have a doctrine or a set dogma, because the reality is, especially if you're trying to do recreation, for example, a lot of the times you're going to find that there's not really going to be one single source. You're going to be kind of piecing together various different traditions and then picking what, pretty much figuring out which one kind of works best for you, regardless of which set of gods you're looking for, whether you're Norse, a Norse pagan, Greco-Roman, Egyptian, it works. So, one of the things, though, I will say is that I don't really consider myself part of the organized Kemetic belief, because a lot of that takes a lot more from West Africa than Egypt. And the reason why I have a problem with that is West Africa has their own culture, their own religious practices, their own ideology. So, to me, that's kind of like going to the Christian neighbor of the Buddhist guy and asking about Buddhism. Like, yeah, he probably has had a conversation or two, but he's not going to know everything about it. He's not going to know, like, the in-depth nuance of why the Buddhist does what he does. Or, how his stuff works. He'll try and give you references based on what he knows from his own ideas, from his own religion. But you're not going to get a clear, true picture of what this person actually believes. So really, if you're trying to do any kind of recreationist sort of thing, you should be trying to get your sources, well, from the source. Like if you're trying to recreate Norse heathenism, then you should probably get your stuff from Norse countries like Norway, Sweden, Switzerland, Denmark, places where the Norse are known to make home. Where those beliefs are deeply practiced. You wouldn't be trying to essentially, unless you really had no other option, be looking at Christian scholars to recreate Norse belief systems, because Christian scholars, especially if you're talking about the Norse, they have a nasty habit of demonizing anything that wasn't their own religion. So they definitely try to paint different things as being darker and more evil than they actually were. And in Norse mythology, you do get to see a good bit of that too, where you can kind of tell what stories and mythologies were kind of more or less crafted by Christian monks to try and make it seem more bloody and gory and nasty than it was, and which ones are actually a little more in line with ancient Norse mythology as believed by the Norse themselves. It's like, for example, the common idea that Valhalla is Norse heaven is like, not quite. Valhalla is not exactly Norse heaven. In fact, if anything, the Norse and a lot of polytheist beliefs have the idea that there's not really a heaven. It's more of, who did you pray to, and which god did you want to spend the rest of eternity with? Now, ancient Egyptians were one of the few people to have something akin to that point of a singular is a singular place of afterlife that you were trying to get, the Field of Reeds. But it's also a place that you kind of actually had to work too. Which is why you get things like shop tea, which were primarily used by rich people who did not want to have to, by rich nobles and the like, who did not want to have to work. Because again, they thought that was beneath them, so they literally had a ton of plain little mini-me's built to go do everything for them, which is more hilarious because you had the shop tea, and then you had shop tea foreman. So you had a crap load of little tiny copies of you.
Great race.
And then you had another tiny little copy of you that was supposed to be the boss of all the other little copies of you. Because they were reported supposedly, according to Egyptian texts and the like, believed to also be very, very lazy. Similar to the person who made the mate. Is that slightly hilarious? Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, I will have these very tiny clay versions of myself made. They will do all my work for me in the afterlife. Cool. One problem. What? Well, you see, they don't like working either. Dang it. Moon Pie is just slumped over like, meow. Meow. Seriously, look at this cat. He's just like, meow. Meow. Never before have we seen such a floopy. All right. He's such a floopy boy and you go and sweep. Yeah, just sleepiest little boy. Hello, Sweepy. Hello, Sweepy.
Suzuka's circuit features a unique figure-8 layout from its original 1962 design. So right after you rocket under the track overpass, prepare for a heavy braking zone into a hairpin.
Look at this fuzzy boy. He just sweep. Why do they do this? I hate it when they do that crap, or they throw you directly into a turn. You're like, so you have no chance of braking at all. Here we go. He's acting like he goes he. Seeing if these upgrades are worth the time on this thing. Here we go. Yeah. It's really nice to just take some time and drive cars like this and just race and have fun. Who knows, maybe one day in real life we'll be able to do something like this. Build like a super duper Mustang, have some fun, go out on a racetrack and just tear it up. But, I mean, I don't know. That would depend. We'll see what the universe has in store for me. Because I'm not gonna lie, like, some stuff I've been feeling a lot. Maybe it's just my anxiety, maybe it's just my depression. Like, bit of depression. Because while I've never been diagnosed with depression, I definitely have noticed I have similar symptoms to it. Of course, it could just be my ADHD acting up. Like, people always think that ADHD is just, oh, happy-go-lucky everything. Like, no. No. ADHD can be a whole lot of mess of why. I know, I've lived with it all my life. The ADHD was why the school system tried to drug me with freaking legalized meth, pretty much. Which is what Adderall and Ritalin was. Thankfully, I never got an addiction to it. I've heard some horror stories though from a lot of people who did. I'm sorry, pretty cat, but I gotta adjust myself. Yeah. Hello. There you go. I know I woke you up. I know. Mwah. Go speed kitty. Go speed kitty. Go speed kitty. Go. Mm-hmm. Let's go, everybody. Actually, now that I think about it, it's kind of funny. My dad has a mix of Native American and noble British, but my mother was Scots-Irish and Sicilian. Both of her parents, both my mom's parents were actually immigrants from their homelands. Interesting stories from Grandma, though. Because apparently, like, her Scots-Irish family had a habit of, like, the kids only got to eat last. They lived on dirt floors. Like, okay, Grandma, I gotcha. Grandma lived through, as a kid during the Second World War. I'm like, yes, Granny. I totally understand. Yeah, my world is a lot better than yours. I got to grow up. That is one of the things that I've learned is, like, you're talking about old Scots-Irish ladies. Oh, do they like to hold grudges? They like to hold grudges, and they never let anything down. Don't get me wrong, you know, not to speak of the ill of the dead. After all, my grandma passed away a couple years back, but, or at least that one. Funny part about both my mom and dad's side of the family is both sides divorced and remarried. So, my great-grandfather was half Native American. On my dad's side, my dad's technically, half his family is technically German. Basically, I just refer to myself as being Heinz 57. I have genetic lineage from all over the place. My ancestors hail from pretty much everywhere. On the Sicilian side, because they were raided and all kinds of stuff from North Africa, I have quite a number of ancestors from North Africa, including places, weirdly enough, like Egypt, Morocco. Yeah, apparently when Sicily has been, you know, kind of had to deal with North African aggression for literally thousands of years, including enslavement, burning down of their homes, all kinds of stuff. It's actually to a point where even though Sicily and Italy are kind of lumped together, the Italians really don't like Sicilians. But it has actually made Sicilians a bunch of tough bastards. I believe there was one quote that stated, if you wanted to take over the island of Sicily, you'd have to burn the island to the ground and shift them out of the ashes. When you've been invaded for thousands and thousands of years by a ton of very angry people, you tend to be very aggressive. Along the lines of, who are you, what do you want, get off our property. Though I think another one of the reasons why the Italians don't like the Sicilians very much is they kind of started the mob. No, I don't have any relations that I know of that are in that particular walk of life, so... I said don't know of, that I don't know of, because my grandfather's brother moved back to Sicily with his kids, so... I don't know. I don't know what my great cousins and that are doing. I just know that I'm like, I live in the panhandle of Florida, the middle of nowhere. The only real jobs we have around is Walmart, a call center, and L3 maybe. And I say maybe because L3 has a very big reputation of like hiring people and then just firing like a bunch of people about 3 or 4 months later. So it's like, well, I wouldn't call that stable. At least with Walmart, we've had people that have been there for like 20 years. They're old, they're wrinkly, but they're usually nice. We have a warm kitty. He is happy and stable because he knows Dad's just playing video games and racing cars. Hi, kitty. Meow. Meow, I'm Fluffy. Yes, you are. You're a fluffy little buddy, huh? The kitty of kitties. Hello, kitty. Yep, the purrs are going.
Last lap.
Oh, this swaps my purrs. Oh, that swaps my purring. No one. Meow. Sorry, I was paying attention to Kitty. Kitty has attention. Yeah, the main problem with me and Kitty here is that I tend to be pretty lonely dude. I just live by myself and I don't bother with a whole lot of other people. I have a handful of good friends, but it's mostly just Kitty and me. Most of my friends are all you wonderful folks online. Of course. What the heck with it? Oh no, you do not, game. You do not just wedge it to where I can't turn on the on the road there. But if, like I said, if you remember, about what I said about being taken out of school and stuff, I don't despise my mom or have anything against what my mom did. Like, I understand completely. Like, she knew I was smart enough to do the work. She knew I was smart enough to do all that. So she decided, she's like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna, have you drug my kid, so just so you don't have to deal with him. But at the end of the day, because of the way the American education system works, kind of boned me. Not her intent, but what happened.
Good work.
But I think this is going to be it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Stay safe, my friends.